right, enough conversation over there. Hey everybody, I am Jonny Torres. Welcome Monday night, and we're counting down the minutes for the Stanley Cup final. So we're going to get in some political news of the day in here with the yard sign. Thank you so much for watching, as you always do, Monday night, 7 o'clock. Don't forget, you can catch the audio version of our podcast on Apple, Spotify, and Google platforms. You can subscribe to those. We're trying to share the show here and build the audience, so ignore any of the background noise. Real quick, let's go into today's topics. Coney Barrett, of course, Trump's nominee for the Supreme Court, will pick apart not only the whole nomination process, but also a little bit of her background and what to expect in the upcoming weeks. Trump's tax day, big news that came out, of course, on a Monday. So that way you get a whole news cycle out of it this week. And, of course, the timing couldn't have been any better or worse, depending on how you look at it, as tomorrow will be the first of hopefully a number of debates between President Donald J. Trump and Joe Biden. So we'll pick apart the presidential debate preview and we'll even talk about, we may do a simulcast or not. I don't know. We kind of do these things on the fly. We're not running a very professional operation here. So, also, pro sports in 2020. Go Lightning. Again, tonight, final game of the Stanley Cup playoffs, or the Stanley Cup finals. The Rays are doing amazing. The Bucks are looking good. The Miami Heat are going to the NBA finals. I am a very, very happy man. Also, very happy are the two gentlemen joining me tonight. Let's go ahead and get over to the main camera, and that is, let's see, that's a little more zoomed in than I expected. And I've got the, there we go. Sorry, guys. I'll fix that in a second. But from left to right, those familiar faces are Joe Wicker on the left-hand side there. Hello, sir. And joining me on the right-hand side there is Anibal David Cabrera.
Are we allowed
Where did
to
my
talk?
Joe Wicker thing go? Yes, you're allowed to talk now.
Cheers.
So let me see. All right, there goes Joe's sticker.
Is that an American flag embossed sign
Over your head.
mask there? I think
Oh,
that's
mine?
against,
Oh, his, yeah.
Oh, that's my mask.
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
against flag code.
Are we really going to have this conversation
It's against
again?
the U.S. flag code.
Really?
Can
We're
break
going
it
to
out
have
for
this
you.
conversation.
Google it.
I thought we
You
worked this
can
out
Google it.
in
Google it.
in the
Google it.
pre-show discussion.
Your citizenship is in jeopardy.
Yeah.
Are you questioning my paperwork?
Oh, my gosh. All right, fellas,
can all
first
lose
topic
it.
of the
We
day.
can all
We're
lose
starting off strong.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
We can all lose it
ICE will be
for treason.
ICE will be kicking down the door shortly.
Yes,
I didn't want to start
they're
off.
busy with the riots. Actually, they're kind of tied up in
should
Portland
be.
right now.
They should
Yeah.
be busy
tied
with
up
the
in
riots,
Portland.
yes.
And
Did you see that video that was kind of got out a little bit today where this U-Haul pulls up and they're just unloading all of the protest materials and
Oh,
off
yeah.
the back of the U-Haul?
Are you
Yeah.
saying
That
it's,
was
it's
they
coordinated
well they
and
found out who rented it, right? They got the lady, because I guess, I don't know, maybe U-Haul gave them the info, I don't know, but they found out who rented it. It was like this young lady, and they got in touch with her, and she's like, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Wow. So, anyways, let's go back to the show and let's get back on topic here. Coney Barrett, of course, President Trump following through on his word. And, this is the problem that the president gets into is that there are times where he says something and he follows through with it and gets it done, right? And then there's other times where he's joking around and he's not really being serious. And unfortunately, journalists have no sense of humor. And so when he's joking, they can't take it for what it is, which is a joke. And then when he's not joking, then of course, we'll criticize him to no end. So first impressions on ACB being the nominee for the Supreme Court. What do you guys think?
you down with ACB?
Yeah, you know me.
Who's down with ACB? Everybody. She's the notorious ACB.
Well, we were talking a little bit about that, right? In terms of there were groups out there that were suddenly offended. And I just realized I didn't turn on those lights above you. But because that was Ruth Bader Ginsburg's nickname as of, I don't know, a few years ago.
Yeah.
And it's like they will literally find anything to criticize or get angry about.
Well, that's usually the motive of the left, really, is to get upset, to get notoriously upset about outrageous things and
everything.
And at the end of the day, I think it's more posturing from the left when it comes to that. I think it's interesting that they had T-shirts and everything else.
Oh yeah,
about other things, but I don't know. I don't have an issue with it. I don't think it's a big deal. It is. She has just three-word name. I mean, it is what it is. If you can build an acronym quickly,
it fits. Yeah,
it does fit. Now, should you feel offended? No, because who should be offended for someone using what that person created as a phrase would be like notorious.
The thing about the outrage that makes it kind of silly is that just like with Kavanaugh, like as soon as the announcement's made, the signs are already pre-printed, like professional printed signs. They're handing them out in DC, and it's obvious that some printer somewhere got a contract with the DNC or whoever to go print, thousands of anti fill in the blank signs with these various names of potential Supreme Court justice picks, and then when it comes time, it's like the World Series. They go ahead and print the shirts and hats
regardless
for both teams, no matter who it is, and they just toss out the ones that they're going to use. So if you're going to be outraged about somebody, I mean, let's actually have something to be outraged about. Don't just be against whoever.
Well, I feel it was the first wave of outrage, and now the new outrage is the fact that and. Something that was very shocking to me is that they're painting her as a racist colonialist because she has 2 adopted black children from Haiti, which was mind-boggling.
Yeah, I thought that was odd. Yeah, I thought that was odd. It was like, wait a minute. So if you wouldn't adopt a child from another country, that would, I guess, would be a problem. But if you do, then you're a colonialist. I mean, my gosh, I can't even. I mean, I'll tell you what. Those children, okay, if you're a young child, right, without whatever, I don't know those children's situation at home, but if they didn't have parents or didn't have a stable home or whatnot, and they get adopted into a great family, I mean, come on. I mean, that's amazing for them.
Well, wouldn't you say that just calling it racist for her to adopt black children is like saying that gays aren't allowed to get married or gays shouldn't adopt children? It's like the amount of mental gymnastics that you have to do to justify that comment of a family adopting 2 children. Doesn't matter what race, doesn't matter what creed. But just giving those children additional chances.
Yeah, so they felt, I think as a person of faith, they felt led to obviously adopt. And then there's also the practical matter, right? I mean, so I got 3 kids. I'd like to have more, but you get to the point to where just biologically maybe it's not going to keep going, and so some people choose to adopt, and I just can't see the sense in politicizing a family that adopts children, period. I mean, it doesn't matter for what. I mean, why would you politicize that?
Because don't get me wrong, this is a major decision that's going to get made. It's not like she wasn't already on the list to get made. I think the Federalist. What's the legal organization?
Yeah, the Federalist Society. Well, one more thing on adoption. A lot of people don't realize that sometimes people adopt overseas because it's easier.
Yes.
It's just a huge bureaucratic process in the United States that's extremely expensive. And so some people are like, we want to adopt some kids, Yep. Where can we go to adopt some children that, that are in need of adoption? And maybe that's how they came upon it. I mean, it doesn't even matter. We shouldn't even be discussing the purpose of it.
But do you think that's like either they have nothing on her and they're grasping for straws, or this is just the first gamut of criticism that they're going to have? Because I don't expect us to get some kind of like breaking news of her doing cake stands, which you never know might be possible when she was in college, and also is not illegal.
Well, just like Kavanaugh, right? Everybody knows that Kavanaugh was a nerd that never missed class, was always early, did everything right. Okay, they came up with some crazy stuff on him. With her, she obviously was a stellar student. She's probably straight as an arrow. I don't see them having anything on her. I actually am not convinced that they're going to go after the religion. I think that they already, because they went after her before. She's already been down this route when she got appointed to the federal bench. Yes. So she already went through this. And Dianne Feinstein was the one that famously said, the dogma lives loudly within you, or something like that.
That was her response after Amy was giving responses of, well, what do you mean when you say Orthodox Catholic? because like she wrote a paper in regards to like
which is not a thing.
Which she had to like give the which she had to give the breakdown of her position, and they're like, well, we use that word to show more of the Catholicism, and she's like, well, what does that mean? And they're like, well, it's not like she means Orthodox Greek or anything else, because there's definitions of Orthodox Judaism where it makes sense. But you're right. There is no such thing as
since
Orthodox
this is a political
Catholicism.
since this is a political show, this is a good time to remind ourselves and everybody else that there is no religious test for office.
What?
There's no religious test for office.
Are you saying that Republican candidates or conservative candidates are being judged and treated differently than any other candidates?
Absolutely. No. Well, if her Catholicism is a problem, isn't Joe Biden Catholic?
Okay.
So and here's why I bring that up.
Because real quick, neither of us are Catholic, so we're not. Very difficult for us to make real inroads.
But is he? Does he consider himself one?
He considers himself a devout Catholic.
So here's why I bring up the point. I don't think the Democrats actually have an issue at all if you are a religious person, specifically Christian. Okay, they have an issue if you actually believe in it.
Yes.
Because guess what? A lot of the beliefs in the Jewish faith are right in line. I mean, the Christianity is an extension of Judaism.
We share a book, yeah.
So I mean, if Ruth Bader Ginsburg was Jewish, you obviously didn't have an issue with that unless you were okay with it because you didn't think that she would actually follow the tenets of the faith.
It's almost like those Democratic senators are asking for a morality test.
Yeah.
Well, would you do this if we do X, Y, and Z? Which I don't think is an appropriate response to be given, because then you really do look like a bigot from this as a senator, because you're asking for someone that.
But the nominees, and all of them, whether they were nominated by a Republican president or whether they were nominated by a Democratic president, all of the judicial nominees that I've ever seen in their confirmation hearings are usually pretty good about solidifying the point, rightfully so, that they're not going to make decisions on hypothetical. They're not going to tell you what they would do in a hypothetical situation. They're going to tell you that they're going to apply the law consistently as it's written.
Yeah,
because that's their job.
And I'm not going to say that like Nancy Pelosi is a Catholic. Like, I'm not going to do air quotes around her version of Catholicism or like Joe Biden's Catholicism. Like, I'm not going to do that.
I didn't do air quotes.
But what I will say is that I look at people with their actions. And the same way I look at Trump in regards to his Christianity, I look at his actions and everything else. Now, we're not here to debate, and I don't like talking about anyone's religion or faith, but I will say it's more appropriate to see people's actions of how you walk through your faith. And if that means taking positions as a senator, then a lot of people do that.
So again, if Democrats have an issue with her being Catholic, then my question is, do you have an issue with Joe Biden being a Catholic? Because that's your nominee.
I thought we resolved all of this in the 1970s
when Kennedy ran. I thought we established that. I thought we got over that hurdle,
and
right? Like the idea of a Catholic. I thought we got over that hurdle.
And now, right? Was it when? What was the verbiage that during what's the big abortion law?
Roe v.
Wade. So when that was passed, 5 of the Supreme Court justices were put on the bench from Republicans.
Yeah.
So this whole nonsense of thinking that Republicans are going to be the one, if you put more conservative justices onto the Supreme Court, that they're going to reverse that. I highly doubt that is going to be what's going to happen. I think what's going to occur is that laws are going to be the Supreme Court should not be pushing law. It should be.
Well, that's not their job.
And that's not their job. But the Senate and the Congress have made it almost to the point to where Democrats feel more comfortable kicking it up to the courts than them actually passing laws.
Because they have very unpopular ideas that they can't get through legislatively.
Exactly.
So they want to.
But that's the fear tactic, right? I mean, the big fear tactic that Democrats are going to use is that she's going to overturn Roe versus Wade. That now that that conservatives, not only that, but honestly, let's call it what it is. I mean, you look at the justices that have been appointed by Bush and that have been appointed by Trump, and have they really turned out to be that conservative? Not really.
I mean, we got SCOTUS care Justice Roberts.
I mean, Roberts.
Now, that's what they're going to hit. That's what they're going to hit ACB on.
They're going to think that she's going to get rid of it.
Because she wrote a paper where she basically, and I mean, I think appropriately, she outlined how Obamacare it didn't have the support in the law, right? Like it wasn't. There was nothing that really could support it.
Well, it was unconstitutional.
When it was challenged, because remember, everybody said it wasn't a tax. It wasn't a tax. The whole time they said it wasn't a tax. And then when they went to the Supreme Court, what did they do? They argued, oh, this is a tax. And they had to argue that because taxation is within the purview of Congress. So they had to argue that it was a tax. And so Roberts basically does all these contortions or whatever, and they find a way for Obamacare to become law.
He literally rewrites the law to where it's now a tax.
So she said, So they said what the law didn't say, and so that's why she, I guess, wrote a paper and called it SCOTUS care, and maybe somebody else coined that phrase. She may have just been referring to it, but
the thing is, though, there's not much baggage I see on her in regards to what the position papers that she's written. Again, we've known she's been on a list for 4 years.
Well, somebody's putting out there this whole thing about Handmaid's Tale and all this crazy, like it's some kind of wacko stuff,
you had that
it's a religious thing or something. It's like this religious component. They're not attacking Catholicism, but they're basically
it's a TV show.
I know, but they're saying that somehow she's part of a secret group that has like this secret oath or something that she's going to believe supersedes her. I mean,
these are the same people that think the world is being led by lizard people. So yeah, I mean you go.
She's going to take an oath, and I'm sure that she believes in that oath. Actually, she's taken many other oaths already like it. So.
Everyone falls into that quagmire at 3 a.m. in the morning on YouTube, and you start looking through the videos of Illuminati and everything else. We've all gone down that.
You're in the dark web. You have a spot on the dark web.
It's insane how quickly.
Yeah. Everybody talks about the dark web. I'm like, I don't want to fall into the dark web. Like, is this a website? What is it? I don't want to.
9 p.m. turns into 3:30 a.m.
I don't want to be
after 112 YouTube video recommendations.
I don't want to be on the dark web. I don't want to follow in. Is it a hole you fall into? Like, does it infect your computer? Like, I don't want to have anything to do with it. I don't know.
I will say right now, I've never been on the dark web, even though I don't know what that is. Well, so it's a talking point.
It's like where everybody's credit card numbers are at, right? It's like where they list all the credit cards.
The same theory of the dark internet is the same theory I put in for critical race theory.
I just assume FBI agents are hanging out, like, looking for bad stuff or whatever.
Bob is listening to our conversation now.
Exactly.
That's right.
So, Bob, please know that we are not talking about anything illegal, nor do we have any information on Hillary Clinton's next kill list. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Well, on that note, quick shout out to Mrs. Stewart. And since she's omitted her name on Facebook, I'll omit her name as well. Hector, always joining us in the comments section. Our good friend Hector, thank you so much for watching, buddy. And again, if you are watching, make sure you leave us a comment. Hit the like, the share button, and help us grow the show. The numbers are actually looking pretty great for this past year, and so we're well on our way. Yes, Anibal.
So I'll say this, Hector, you do have a really good point, and we kind of talked about it last week in regards to what's her name, the Florida potential Florida Supreme Court nominee, Lagos.
Oh, she's out.
Yeah. So he's saying, why don't we pick her as someone because she's from Florida, and you would drive up the base in Florida. Now you told me, and we had this conversation, that she was kind of not taken out of the running, but like there were too many things.
Right out of the gate, she was almost immediately taken out of the running.
Yeah. I didn't understand. I didn't understand the idea behind select a person from Florida as Supreme Court judge because it's going to bring out Florida voters. Like, I don't know. I wasn't following that logic. I mean, they're already on the court, so
it was just kind of with Amy Barrett. It checked off all the right boxes, So it's like take Amy Barrett and then add on like Hispanic to it. You know what I mean? It was but see, it's one of those things that may or may not move the needle.
Am I saying her name right, Lagoa? I mean. Listen, I'm not. None of us are judges in here, okay? But none of us.
I'm glad you got that name.
But didn't I mean she was pretty new, right? I mean, like she was still pretty new.
She's like less.
She
than
had
5
just
years
got
on the
that.
bench.
She had just got on that federal bench. She was just appointed.
Yep.
I mean, it just seemed like
no, and that was I think
Amy,
honestly that was the reason. I think that's what did her in.
It just seemed like Amy had already a body of work behind her, where you had kind of the So I don't know.
She has been on a list for a very long time, which means that she was vetted by conservative lawyers. She was vetted for a while. This is not out of the blue of a person. We've known this list of individuals for quite some time since Trump started running for president.
One of the things that our good friend Paul Phillips would like to point out is, we are not part of that decision-making process. And I have to admit that, right? We have to admit it for ourselves. And I've told other people, I'm like, look, there's only 100 people that have any say in that process.
Right.
Yes.
And they all happen to be United States senators. And if you're not one, that means your opinion really is, you know what I'm saying? And not only that, but appointing a Supreme Court justice and then having that person go through confirmation hearings. They're getting into legal review, court cases. Let's be honest. That's not our lane.
Well,
that's just not for us to criticize hardly.
Well, and so we don't know, obviously, right, what parameters they're looking at to have chosen her as the nominee, because we're not in those conversations. And we certainly don't know what the Senate is or isn't going to be looking for.
Yeah.
Are they looking for somebody that's just going to check off all the conservative boxes, or are they genuinely looking for a constitutionalist who's going to uphold the Constitution? Right. And again, does that really move the needle to where we are now? Not really. We have a pretty balanced Supreme Court, and I wouldn't see, it's one of the last aspects, I think, of our federal government that I truly see as maybe being nonpartisan still.
Right.
Despite people trying to politicize it.
Well, it's always been, let's be honest.
Well, people are asking for term limits now on the judges.
The court has, because they're not going to get
Democrats
their way.
want to expand it because
they want,
You know what? I won't have a problem with the Supreme Court.
It would become like elections.
No. I wouldn't have a problem with the Supreme Court getting term limits if the Congress and Senate would get term limits also. And I am a huge advocate of not having term limits for elected officials besides the president. However, if you're going to go across the board, do the whole thing. And
the founders, without getting all nerdy, the founders.
What?
You can look at the notes. Okay, when they were drafting the Constitution, the founders debated nearly all of these issues.
Yeah.
Okay, and they have justification for why they chose what they chose. A big one is term limits and congressional pay. People say they shouldn't get paid. That was debated. They debated about whether they should get paid. They debated term limits. They talked about this. Right. And when you go through the actual founders' comments, then you start realizing, okay, there's reasons why.
This wasn't put together in 3 weekends.
Right.
This was a pretty legitimate process of what they went through.
Let's let them handle it. She's getting on the court. It's happening.
There's almost no way
they've got 51 votes, and they got Mike Pence in the back pocket to be a tiebreaker, even if they lost 3 votes. And Romney's already said he's going to vote.
I just think it's hysterical. Gillibrand came out and said that she's not going to hear, I guess she's
not meet with her?
Participate, yeah.
Oh, no, a lot of Democrats have said that they're
or,
not meet with her.
It's like, look, you can pull all the theatrics you want, but again, I don't think McConnell would have pushed as hard as he did.
Nope.
I don't think they'd all be pushing as hard as they are if they didn't think they had the votes.
Yep. You got to give credit to, I'm not, McConnell, if anybody's
Cocaine Mitch.
Cocaine Mitch. If anybody's deep state, not deep state, but if anybody's establishment, it's Mitch McConnell, right? So I'm not a fanboy per se, but you got to give him credit. That guy has pushed through a lot of these, maybe even a bigger impact, which is all these other federal court openings that we had, with 100 plus. That have already been fulfilled. You don't hear about those, but those have been filled in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I love it.
Quick shout out to Laura Ann Hartman. Hello, Laura. I haven't seen her in a while. We got and our buddy Jeff Padavani, which we were talking about before the show. What's up, buddy? Thank you all for watching. Let's go ahead and reset today's conversations. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen here. Nope, that's not doing what it should be doing. Let's see. Try one more time. There we go.
Can we get it together, please?
I'm trying. I'm too worried about the game tonight. And so last Monday, I wore my jacket, my Lightning jacket, and they won. And so I figured today, if I wore the jersey, hopefully they'll win again. So.
What were you wearing yesterday then?
What do you mean?
Or not yesterday, 2 days ago when we lost.
I don't know. PJs? I don't know. I have no idea. Obviously, we lost, so I'm not doing that again.
All right. Not going to wear PJs again. Okay.
Never.
Oh, you have a
never again. Let me go ahead and reset the show. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We just tackled ACB's nomination and hopefully future confirmation. And don't forget, you can subscribe to the audio version of our podcast, which has been growing by leaps and bounds. We actually had our biggest month this past month. So thank you to everybody listening to the audio version of the podcast. You can find that on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Again, so the big news that came out today was Trump's tax returns, or alleged tax returns. The New York Times, predictably, put out the big blockbuster story today, basically claiming that Trump's only made about paid less than $1,000 over the past couple of years, and that he's about 10 years behind and about six figures in tax debt. Obviously, guys, I mean, if he were tax evading, which is not what they're accusing him of, but that's how a lot of people interpret this stuff because they don't know what they're talking about. I mean, he'd be in jail already. So
as a small business owner who very quickly realized there was no way that I was going to be able to do my own taxes, years ago, I handed over my personal and my corporate taxes to a CPA. And every business out there, virtually, certainly something like the Trump Organization, is going to have really big firms, right? Your Ernst & Youngs and whatnot, that are compiling all of their tax documents and preparing their returns. And those companies, or the individual officers of those companies, like Trump, are going to pay what they are told that they have to pay. And to what Jonathan was kind of alluding to, if there was a reason why President Trump or any of the people in his family or any of the officers of his company or his companies were not paying the taxes that they were required to pay, that would already be known because the IRS would have already been coming after them. It's not uncommon for rich people or famous people to get audited, okay? And so if he was doing something illegal, it would be found out. He's not. And people talking about his taxes, it's kind of along the lines of the Supreme Court justice. You have a bunch of people talking about things that they have no idea at all what they're talking about.
But that's what they're counting on. They're counting on the public ignorance so that Joe Biden can bring this up in the debate tomorrow. We are going to talk about the debates in just a little bit. But basically accuse him of not paying taxes. And so he's going to look like a tax cheat. Again, meanwhile, you have Democrats in cities all across the country making these very same tax deals with Jeff Bezos and name the corporation, to give them all kinds of incentives. And I'm not saying just Democrats do it, both sides do it. They give them these tax incentives, and then they want to then turn around and complain about the fact that these corporations and these magnates don't pay taxes. Yeah. Well, you made the deals. And especially these guys in the Senate and Congress who are going to criticize the president over this. Well, guess who made the rules? They did.
Right. If you don't like the tax laws, lobby to change the tax laws. There's not a person in this country that says to their accountant, how much do I owe? Oh, okay, I owe $750. Okay, I owe $1,000. Okay, I don't know anything. Well, let me just send in a little extra because I just want to make sure, that I'm paying, my fair share. People pay what they owe, and that's it, period.
Also, I love how now everyone is a tax expert when it comes to the federal tax laws and have come out blazing with attachments of this article and other news articles. It's come to the point to now I see the headline, I see the article, I read the article, I take a day or two, and then I'll make a comment. You know why? Because it's always a position of nonsense that people are coming at. And
the IRS should not be politicized. And that's another thing, man. It's like these organizations within the federal government that you may not like them, but at least you trust them. You think you have a fair shot, right? It's like the FBI. The FBI has done so much damage to themselves these last few years because it's like you don't want the FBI to show up to your door, but if you're truly innocent, you're like, I'm innocent. What's the big deal? I can talk to the FBI. No, now you know not to say anything to anybody. And with the IRS, it's like, okay, nobody likes paying, but you don't believe that people at the IRS are slipping tax returns to the media. I mean, somebody.
So they talked about this on Fox,
sent his tax returns out.
And the two questions are: is what the New York Times did by releasing this information illegal? And you can debate that and say, no, it's technically not illegal. It's whoever provided the information to the news outlet is probably compromising and not doing this legally. And hence why they haven't released the full documentation, because then that would release the source. So that's a whole nother conversation of having news companies releasing this information without releasing the documentation fully for supporting documents. Two, it's not just billionaires that take advantage of the tax code.
Right.
I know thousandaires that do the same exact thing.
You pay what you
owe, and you make the decisions throughout the year, so then you don't have to pay more than you owe. And many people either don't pay any taxes or get money back. And it's not even getting money. It's not a refund.
Yeah,
you're getting money that you've already given to the IRS. You given to the U.S. government.
People don't even realize that.
Yeah. So when people say, "Oh, he didn't pay any federal income taxes," people are forgetting in 2017, he paid $13.3 million in taxes. In the years of 2016 and 2006 and 2005, he paid almost $60 million in taxes.
Do you know if that was personal? That sounds like corporate income.
It's all corporate. Okay. And what I might assume is he's probably filing it jointly.
So here's something that people need to keep in mind too when they talk about personal, what he paid personally, okay? Business owners, certainly at that level, are incentivized to not pay themselves as just a W-2 employee. Correct. Okay? Because the corporate tax rate right now is 21% on businesses, and I forget what is it, 36.9 or something like that, or I forget what it is on individuals.
It's cheaper to pay yourself through the K1,
but it's low.
Than it is to pay
much
through
higher.
a W-2.
I mean, the point is like 15% higher if you're paying taxes on that income. If you're paying taxes as income.
Yes.
Okay. If you're paying income tax versus if you're paying a corporate tax on net profit of the company. So it makes sense that you're going to keep the money in the corporation so that you pay that way and that you don't pay individually and then you pay yourself in other ways. So, but this stuff, it gets into tax law, it gets complicated. Yeah. We don't even understand it. The business owners don't even understand it.
We went from 300 people watching to 12. And so just not having this ridiculous conversation. Yeah. But at the end of the day, did what Trump filed, what his tax accountants filed, illegal? No, none of it's illegal. What is wrong with people not understanding the concept of everything that was written in the New York Times is not illegal? Now, everyone that I know everyone files their taxes, and some people take advantage of the loopholes that are given to the tax that are in the tax code.
If it's legal, is it a loophole?
No, it's not a loophole. You're taking advantage of the tax code. And now you'll also hear people talk about how, Trump got a refund of $73 million. Yes, it was a tax code update that the Obama administration filed so that Trump took advantage of.
And that's why you pay big accounting firms to go find that stuff for you. And that's obviously what they did. What is the definition of a loophole? I wish somebody would tell me that. What is it? I mean, is it? I mean, because it's kind of put forth like it's something that no one else gets, but somehow you got, or it's something that's like a special thing. And I'm like, we're talking about the IRS here. Like, I mean, if
I think people
it applies to you, it applies to everybody that's in a similar situation.
Exactly. I think people use the word loophole loosely, which I did myself. But like trying to explain to someone that has not been in the finance world what depreciation is and why
I claim all three of my kids, is that a loophole? If I have another kid, is that a loophole? Because I got another child.
And technically, you have to indicate in the taxes that you are claiming your children. So if you want to pay more taxes, don't claim your kids and don't take the benefit. Yeah. Everyone does this.
If you pay less, it's a loophole. If you pay more, somehow it's not. Like I don't get it.
Every American is trying not to pay any taxes to begin with. Yeah. So really, you're giving more. I love
these guys like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. They, they're all for free markets and low taxes while they're trying to get rich, and then they become billionaires, and then they go around talking about how they ought to be paying more. And I'm like, well, if you think taxes should be higher, nobody is stopping you from at the end of the year writing a check to the U.S. Treasury and signing it.
I will say,
and you're going to tell me that, all these billions that they're giving away, right? Because they've pledged to give away half of their net worth. You don't think they're writing all that stuff off?
hey,
Exactly, right. Are they going to not claim that and pay taxes on it?
Right.
No.
Again-
they're going to claim it as a charitable
loss or a
gift.
charitable gift, yeah.
the
which they
big
should. What's wrong with that?
hoopla years ago was that Warren Buffett's secretary pays a higher bracket than he does himself. Now, the flip side of that conversation is
Because
that
she gets a paycheck and he doesn't.
the flip side is that yes, she's in a higher bracket, but he's also paying, I think, almost $100 million more in taxes than she is.
Exactly.
And so the verbiage is all it is. I don't think this is a big deal. Laura made a comment about abolishing the IRS. So there's some days I kind of think that's an appropriate thing to do. Another times I don't think it's appropriate. I think this is where we're at. But it would be
Jeffrey
a fun
was
conversation.
Jeffrey was talking about we should just get rid of income tax and go to basically a national sales tax. I said you have to, in order to institute a national sales tax, you have to remove from the Constitution the amendment that allowed federal income tax in the first place.
So one, you have to remove an amendment, which is probably never going to happen.
Right,
and
right.
two, I mean, the only thing you would suggest is a progressive tax, which these lawmakers will never allow to happen because they won't be able to. They'll be screwed over. They will not be able to take advantage of it.
Well, what I love in all of this, too, is that people, again, for the past almost 4 years now, or let's say well over 4 years, once you factor in the campaign, have been clamoring and begging, let's see your taxes, let's see your taxes. Now the taxes are out. I mean, it's going to fall like a rock, and it's just not going to do anything, because there really isn't anything there. Again, if there had been anything there, he'd be in jail by now. He would have been, I'm sure he's been audited numerous times.
You don't think when he
throughout
announced
his
his
career.
candidacy, when he announced his candidacy and was actually doing well, you don't think that there were people in the IRS that were like, let me just check. Hey, Bob, you got access to DJT or what?
I will also
let's
say
just
this.
check and see.
If there was,
they were looking at his taxes. Come on.
If there was something, the headline would not be reading the way it is. It would read exactly what's going on.
It would say Trump committed tax fraud or Trump didn't pay what he owed.
I will say this, though. After going through the article, you come to realize that the New York Times actually did something positive in their reporting by stating that the tax returns that they have do not show any indication of Russian involvement in his tax returns.
Yeah, that's actually the one thing that I figured if it existed, it would have come out in that Mueller probe anyway.
Yeah.
But the one thing, and I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist there, but I know a lot of people had said that this idea of the Russians being involved wouldn't be so much from a standpoint of like national security being compromised and all that, but it just the fact that back in the 80s and 90s, did Donald Trump did he have trouble getting loans? And if he did have trouble getting loans from traditional banks, did he ever approach like Russian oligarchs, right? And that's what people were worried, was that something's going to come out that this guy actually owes, some bad actors in Russia money, and I would think that if that was the case, it would have already come out by now.
There's such hatred for this president that they call him a tyrant. They call him a fascist. You don't think any of that would have came out, or it would have blown up years ago that this was going on, especially when he was running and all this money was being poured into getting background checks and everything else. I think what we're going to see is a slow drip for the next 40-something days until the election.
Outrage,
and that's what's going to happen. And I think that's what pisses off people more than anything else.
They needed something to give Biden momentum going into the debate.
Yep, something to talk about.
And honestly, because the problem is any public appearance that he's done in the last 6 months has been so god awful. Yeah. There's one that Bill O'Reilly put out where he's talking about the coronavirus, but he's throwing out all these ridiculous numbers that don't even make sense. It's sad. I think even if he were to win the election, that I don't think he'd make it past his second year. I think his mental capacity is degrading at that rapid a rate.
Well, Trump asked for a drug test. He asked for a drug test either now, give it to us now, or immediately after.
Yeah, but what's the drug test looking for? What did he mean by that?
Because it would show it would show any type of methamphetamine, and I'm not talking about illegal. I'm talking about legal. It would show legal methamphetamines. It would show certain types of prescription drugs would pop up on it. It would show it.
We are dropping the bar so low, and I think we are transitioning to the
because
debate.
Trump believes, and I think some people are asking the question: if you're running for president of the United States, why does your day end at 12 p.m.? Why is the last interview that you're doing at 12 p.m.? You got to be kidding me. How is it that Joe Biden's campaigning for president of the United States, but you're telling me the guy's only working like 5 hours of the day, and then he has to go to bed?
It's a nap. He has to take a nap.
Meanwhile, Trump is doing midnight rallies. The guy's doing 3 and 4 rallies a day and doing his day job. And Biden won't take questions from the media after 12 p.m. Why is that? Is it because you have to take a nap? Is it because these meds are wearing off? Like, what? Why don't they trust the guy after 12 p.m.?
Well,
what's up?
Well, along that line of questioning, let me go ahead and kind of reset the show. Thank you so much for watching the Yard Sign. We appreciate you. Hope you're having a great night. We are counting down the minutes here to the Stanley Cup final between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Dallas Stars. Go Lightning! But we wanted to get in some news and our politics of the day before that. Thank you to everybody watching and in the comments section. Love it. And don't forget to subscribe to the audio version of the podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify platforms. Again, topics of the day, we went through Coney Barrett and Trump's tax day, and as we were just getting into a little bit of the Biden conversation and what is this debate going to look like? I mean, obviously we saw Democrats try to make the case for not having any debates, and obviously that was not going to happen. And I said if no debates took place, Biden for sure was going to lose. Not that I think these debates are going to help him at all, but let's go ahead and pick apart the debate scenario here, which is again, I mean, I think, unlike what happened to Obama, I think Trump is going to be ready as he was in 2016 to just sweep the floor with Joe Biden. I think he's going to kill it in these debates. It for some reason, it just seems like he's, for the most part, in a very, it's like he's almost always on has home field advantage, right? Like I think that's.
Johnny, I'm nervous.
You think so?
Well, not nervous. It's just that here's my concern. So Joe Biden, whether you think this is a good thing or a bad thing, has been a politician for 47 years. He's ran for president. People forget he's ran for president something like 10 times or something. He's debated. I mean, how many?
3 times.
He has debated. The guy has debated professionally a lot. Okay, and he doesn't tend to do terrible. And having said that, then you have Trump on the other hand, who the campaign's motto, I don't know if this is still the motto, but his motto in the campaign is let Trump be Trump. Okay, well, Trump doesn't, like a lot of business guys, they go with their gut. Sometimes they shoot from the hip. He goes with what he knows, and that concerns me because Biden is going to be training for the debate, and Trump, how much is he going to actually prepare for the debate? I don't know.
And no, look, you're right. I mean, Trump doesn't come off to me as a person that would train for a debate. But looking at the people he took out and I mean, we had a hell of a bench in 2016.
There's 17 of them, including Trump, I think.
Correct.
Right. And
took out 16.
Especially one of them being one of the best debaters in the country, in Congress, in Ted Cruz, and just destroyed him.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, now look, I also don't think that the Biden that you're talking about is the Biden we're going to see in these debates.
Okay. I have to agree. When you start talking about, and I'm sorry,
no, go ahead.
When you start talking about the legacy of Biden, he hasn't had to have a legitimate debate.
It's 90 minutes. It's 90 minutes. Can he go 90 minutes?
I don't know. First of all, it's after like the 12 p.m. like cutoff.
Oh, that's
time.
Right. It's in the evening.
So we don't even know what he'll be like.
Well, he won't be allowed to work that day. I mean, we know he's not. He won't be allowed to work that day because he's only allowed to work 4 to 5 hours. a day.
I will say this. We were listening to the White House briefing. She made comments that he is doing prep every single day.
Debate prep.
Well, you know who it was?
Who do you think stands in? Who do you think stands in for Biden? He probably fires the guy that does it. You know what? Get out of here.
No. I'm not. I cannot remember.
Maybe that explains the whole Brad Parscale situation.
Yeah, Brad Parscale was standing in for Biden. He was prepping him, and Trump got pissed.
Who would have thought that was going to blow up the way it did? Anyways, no, they had New Jersey governor
Chris Christie?
Chris Christie was there as one of the debates.
He stood in as Biden against Trump?
It was him and another individual. I cannot remember the name
that's
of it right
probably
now.
pretty good.
That's a really good scratch. He's a good...
That's probably pretty good because Chris Christie will come at you. You know,
When Chris
he'll
Christie,
hit you.
when he was for 2016 during those debates,
Yeah.
it was like he was there to knock off other people in the
that's true.
debate. So you really saw how
playing
he
defense
would be
for
able
Trump,
to play.
yeah.
I will say this. President Trump really, when he goes in front of the gaggle every single day, that's debate prep right there.
Yeah.
If you're having to talk to the press if you start to do that every single day, then you start moving in that direction.
I guess my point is that sometimes, and I really don't think he means to do it, but it's like when he got asked the question about would there be a peaceful transition? Because Trump is not a politician, because he's a businessman, he doesn't think the way the media and typical politicians are trained to think. Okay, as a businessman, you ask him, is there going to be a peaceful transition? And he's thinking, I don't know, I mean, maybe it's going to go to the courts. Maybe, maybe these ballots aren't going to work out. I mean, there's going to be who knows what the...
but that was a perfect response. That was a perfect response.
But this is where I also think...
But the political answer to that is, well, of course there's going to be a peaceful transition. This is the United States of America. The American presidency is something that's revered around the world. There's going to be a peaceful transition, and I look forward to winning on election night.
Do you really think anyone that's already decided that's going to vote for Biden was outraged with that comment? The only people that were outraged with that comment were the political elite and those people that are so far left that they
assume. It's just giving ammunition, though.
But that ammunition does nothing.
And I'm okay.
What does it do?
Because what we're saying then, because basically what you're saying is that everyone's deciding.
Do you think Trump is going to not have a peaceful transition?
What you're saying, no, I don't think there's going to be a problem at all.
But that's one of those instances where I think Trump was joking or just and I didn't see the video, so I don't have the context, but it's like or he's just stringing them along. He knows that when he says stuff like this, I think your take was slightly wrong in the sense that I think he knows exactly what he's doing. I think he knows when he throws out something like that, that's what they're going to obsess over for the next 48 to 36
chess argument. You're making the argument of four-dimensional chess. Yeah, he's playing four-dimensional chess the entire time.
Do I think Trump
that's what he's been doing for 4 years.
I just think he's not a politician.
Trump is a savant? I won't say that
he's just not a politician. He shoots from the hip. He says whatever he wants to say, and then the next day the media goes crazy, and he doesn't know why.
I think he's been playing the media since day one for the past 4 years.
He's also been playing the media for the last 30 years.
Yeah,
let's understand this. He has been playing the media card for the last 30 years. He knows exactly what he's doing. So when he makes these stupid little comments, the media goes crazy, and middle America is like, well, why is everyone fussing over something like this?
It just looked to me like he dismissed it. It didn't look to me like he was goading them, which is, I would agree with you if that was the case. If he was goading them, I'd be like, okay, he's playing the media. It just looked like he dismissed it, and I was like...
That's what I'm saying. Like he does it like tongue-in-cheek, like, like he's just more annoyed by the question, and so he's just going to answer it. He just
wants to move on.
So, and then, of course, they obsess over it for the next week or two.
I just think that so the question then it becomes this, because I think what Anibal was really alluding to is you were kind of saying it doesn't matter how he performs because everybody's already decided. Is Trump going to actually, is Biden going to lose votes? And I don't know. I don't know. I mean, is there because we're too involved that sometimes I don't think we can see. Yes. I actually think sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees because we're just so involved in it. I mean, I've been asking my neighbors, like, what's going to happen? Because I want to get some people's opinion that don't follow this stuff every day.
Right.
And many of them are saying Trump's going to win in a landslide.
Which is scary to me because I don't see that.
Because campaigns generally don't end in landslides.
Yeah. Right.
It's
especially as polarizing as he's been.
I don't. That's the, for me. I want there to be a landslide because that's the only way.
Are there any voters?
That's the only where there's. Are there actually be a legitimate a peaceful transition of power?
So are there
because what's going to happen? The left is going to go crazy the day of the election when they pronounce it.
I mean, Reagan won in a landslide because he was very popular. And Trump is not very popular.
Things were going well, right?
And things are generally going very well in the country.
Economically, things were going well, and that was the whole: are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And coming out of Jimmy Carter, everybody was like, yeah. So that was easy. But and also California was reliably. They went Republican, right? They were still reliably Republican, I think, back then. So it's a different world. But I guess my question is there any voters? Are there any undecided voters? Is there anybody that's going to vote on election day that's actually undecided and needs the debate to figure it out?
Allegedly, it's about 6 to 12% of the
you believe 12% of people have no clue?
I don't think 12%. I can give it to 6, 7, maybe even 8%. I don't think
maybe
it's 12.
Single digits.
I don't think it's above 10%. But like that's normally what sways elections, anyways.
You really think somebody's watching that debate, saying to themselves, "I wonder who I'm going to vote for. Let me watch this debate and see if I can figure that out."
Have you been to the villages?
I mean, do you really
yes,
think so?
There are people
that
are going to look at that debate and really make the decision. I've been to Sun City Center.
I mean, that's the only area where, again, it doesn't make any sense to me. But according to some of the polling that's out there, that there are a lot of senior citizens who are either thinking of voting for Biden or are on the fence, which again, don't fully understand why, but there seems to be a lot of indecision, at least among that demographic.
I mean, we probably have people watching right now that haven't made the decision yet if they're going to vote for Trump or not. And I know these people, and I'm going to tell you right now.
Is there anybody watching that's undecided? Is there anybody that's
there are some people that are watching that
If you're watching and you're undecided, please let us know. We have to know who you are.
They already did.
We have to know who you are.
I will say this. If the debate goes the way, okay, so there's only really two ways this debate is going to go. Either they both slug it out and neither really lands a punch, but they both come out not really that bloody, or one or the other completely falls apart. Do I think Trump is going to fall apart on a 90-minute broadcast of live television for a debate? No, because he didn't do it any of the other times, and he's been adamant, and his day-to-day schedule shows that he will probably be able to deal with a 90-minute standing on a podium. The person that I don't think Trump. The person I don't think will be able to do that.
Trump sleeps 4 hours a night.
Exactly. I don't think Biden has the capacity to do something like that.
No, he'll make it through 90 minutes.
He'll make it through, but he will either look defeatist at the end of it, or it'll be or he passes out. Will
Trump and Biden shake hands prior to this?
Yes,
I think so.
COVID excuse to not to?
I think so. I think Biden
Trump doesn't like shaking hands. Everybody knows
that's
that.
true.
Secretly, he doesn't like shaking hands.
So, do you think Trump will be the one that is like?
Well, and Biden's going to come out.
Trump should do that. Trump should offer him a fist bump.
But Biden's going to come out in the mask. Biden's going to come out in the mask.
He looks so weak.
So he can criticize Trump for not wearing a mask.
Sure, of course.
Weak with the mask on. I don't know why he puts it in his advertising. You're literally standing in front of a camera. Why do you have your mask on?
Yeah, next to no one.
Why do you have your mask on? That makes no sense. Trump walking through a facility with a mask on with someone, that makes complete sense.
Well, because again, being a businessman, all about utility, Trump does something if it makes sense to do it at the time. And wearing a mask when you're walking through a facility that hasn't been cleared by the Secret Service, in the sense that it's not like they've sucked all the air out and made it a zero pressure environment, right? So what does he do? He wears a mask because it makes sense.
If you've seen The West Wing, you know of episodes of where they're literally testing the air for certain chemicals to make sure it's always pure.
Right. Well,
so at the end of the day, that's one of the most secure facilities in the world.
Right. Wherever the president goes, it's going to be. There's already been an advance party that's come and checked everything. And
so again, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I actually hope we do a simulcast. I think it would be great to be watching it back here and commenting.
How many people are going to watch? Is it going to be more people than watch the Super Bowl?
No.
Or will it be close?
I think funny enough.
People watch the Super Bowl?
Well, don't you remember the Trump debate? No, remember the Trump debates.
I will say this: I think the debate is going to draw more viewers than any sporting event has this year.
Yes.
Which is a good segue into our next topic.
I wonder what it takes.
We'll do
25 million?
We'll do
I don't know
40 million?
I don't know about that.
But now I know to look it up for tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah. Seriously.
So thank you again for watching The Yard Sign. Jonny Torres, your host as always. Again, please share the podcast if you don't mind. We'll also have it up on YouTube a little later tonight, along with the audio version of our podcast, which you can find on Apple, Google, and Spotify platforms. Joining me tonight, Joe Wicker, Anibal Cabrera, as always. And we have our list of topics there, which you've missed. So thank you so much for joining us, or maybe you've been watching the whole time. Thank you. We're going to get into a slight departure from our usual range of topics, and we're going to talk pro sports in 2020. Not going into sports in general, but really just how it's been affected by everything that's gone on this year, from coronavirus to the race debate, and how that may or may not have an effect on the presidential campaign. We saw, well, he technically, I don't know. It depends on whether or not you consider wrestling a sport. But The Rock came out, I think it was today or over the weekend.
Don't say it's fake. It's not fake.
and he endorsed Biden and Kamala Harris, and so. So let's see. All right, there we go. Finally hit the buttons right. So I mean,
what The Rock is cooking.
Does The Rock sway votes? I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, he's obviously a huge. He is easily the biggest celebrity we have on Earth right now. But I don't think.
Remember when Hillary was running and she was like paying Jay-Z to throw concerts.
If Beyonce and Jay-Z, the king and queen of the Illuminati, can't move they can't bring the votes, then The Rock won't either. Love his movies. I think he does a great job.
Keep in mind, The Rock relies on Hollywood, right?
Oh, I would love to see The Rock's tax returns
on Hollywood
to see how much that depreciation.
And what happens in Hollywood if you come out as a Republican? What happens? You get doxxed and you get blacklisted, and so
you end up hosting cheesy Hollywood type shows.
Yeah, so I don't
talking about other.
I mean,
shout out to Mario Lopez.
They don't look to me for movie critic advice, and I don't look to them for political.
No,
Mario Lopez to me seems like the most unaffected of the celebrities.
He bounced back pretty quickly. I was a little surprised how quickly he bounced back.
I don't think he ever kind of
took a sabbatical. He took us.
If you're in Hollywood and you come out as a conservative, you are now going to be doing Christian movies, and so
Kirk Cameron,
you're going to be playing
and Antonio Sabato Jr.
Grow your hair out. Stay ready to play
Dash.
Jesus, because
I will say this. I think
can you be one of the three wise
Slater
men?
from Saved by the Bell did a great job with the rebound. I don't think he was affected as most as others, but I will say that, I mean, who's gonna say no to those dimples? The cheeks, that's insane. Also, he hasn't aged at all after 20, 30 years since Saved by the Bell. It's insane. Okay, back to sports.
By the way, if Stacey Dash ever wants to do a Christian movie with me, I'd happily cooperate.
Whoa.
No, well, I mean, look, she's one of these people that has been ostracized by Hollywood.
You don't hear about her anymore.
No, and
did she just get out of politics? Did she stop talking? Is that what she did?
She had a little bit of falling out.
Well, no, seriously,
in political circles, I think.
Did she stop? Did she stop going on the political circuit? I haven't seen her.
I think she's had some personal issues, and I think that's what's drawn her off. And
like everybody in Hollywood.
But she's pretty active on social media.
I mean,
but yeah, she kind of. Again, I don't know for what reason, but she kind of, I mean, it's just, for whatever reason,
Speaking of sports,
lost some of that spotlight.
We are trying to get back into
sports. We're trying to get to sports, okay? Joe Montana's home got broke into by I think it was a female, obviously the woman's crazy, I think it was a female, who grabbed their grandchild that was there.
Yeah.
And they had like a standoff where he tried to like,
she tried to kidnap
play
the
it
grandkid.
cool or whatever. Yeah. And eventually, I think Mama Bear came out in Miss Montana, and supposedly she got the grandchild back away, got her out of her arms, and the woman ran off, and the police got her. But apparently they left a door open. They left a door unlocked, and somebody, I mean, I don't know, these crazy stalkers.
I hadn't heard that.
These crazy stalkers. I mean, it was just a crazy person probably, but they stalk these these famous people.
Well,
back to sports.
But I mean, that does kind of bring us back.
Second Amendment, Montana.
I mean, so let's talk about, first of all, the coronavirus kind of angle on this. I mean, look, honestly, it's kind of taken some of the fun out of me. I've never been a huge, I got to be in front of the TV for this sport or that sport kind of guy anyways. So to watch these sports without fans in the crowd and with the fake noise pumped in, I'm just not interested.
The fake noise is so distracting. I am so surprised. We were watching an NFL game.
It must be working.
We were watching an NFL game, and they were pumping in the actually in the NFL. We were watching on Saturday, and you could hear the fans screaming. And I'm like, who is doing that? I couldn't tell, and then I realized it's just they're dubbing.
It's just pumped in.
Weird. I will say some sports leagues and some teams are taking it less serious than others. The stadium in Denver actually had the entire cast of South Park, in their stadium over the weekend. I thought that was a fun little add-on. Oh yeah,
I got some people watching the show here that I know are Brady fans. So,
so do you want to talk? So do you not want to talk about Brady, or do you want to talk?
No, we can talk. I mean,
like I will say that
he's doing good.
The schedule is really weird right now because now all the sports are playing at the same time.
Right.
You have baseball, college basketball, college football, normal football. In my household, football is only played on Saturdays, but you have
exactly.
Yeah, you have you have hockey coming down to it. We have Game 6 tonight for the NFL. Go Lightning, and then you have NHL. That's how much
you and the acronym.
I can't.
My goodness.
Yeah, it works horribly from my side. And then you have the Rays, who actually made it onto theirs, clinching their league. I am really surprised, but like. Now it's like, who am I following?
But who's paying attention? Like nobody I know is paying attention.
Because it just sucks.
Like I'm in, I'll be in a room with like 3 or 4 other guys, and I'm like, hey, when's the game? And nobody knows. Like nobody knows what channel it's on or what time the game's on, or
that's
I have a lot of friends that are not following basketball anymore.
Why do you think that is?
Primarily, I think it's coronavirus. I think I think a lot of it had to do with it throwing the timing of the seasons all off.
Why don't they care when the game is?
I think why they don't care, I think, is because of the politicization that has happened.
Corona gets you kind of off balance, and then you're hearing all this political BS, and you're just like, you know what? Forget it. I don't even know.
Yeah.
And you move on to other things. Other things take precedent in your life. You start getting some projects on the weekend going.
Yeah, but also in the past, you would be able to focus on one sport.
Right, yeah, it's one season.
So when basketball was going through, then you would start hearing about hockey. Hockey would start, baseball would start, and then when that started ending, then you would get into football. And so now with all of them playing at the same time, I really don't care. You know who knows the schedule more than I do is the device that I yell at in the morning. I ask her like who's won the game, and they tell me who won. So it's either Google or what's the other one? The big.
Alexa
tells me more about sports than the TV does.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I have not seen. I haven't even seen highlights. I've seen 0 baseball this season. 0. I mean I haven't watched a single Rays game, and not for any reason. Like it's just and look and again I watched some of the Bucks game last night. I mean, I passed out, out during halftime. But it's one of those things that it's just not the same. And look, as excited as I am, look, the Heat are in the finals, the Lightning are in the finals, the Rays are in the finals. Like all these Florida teams are doing amazing, and like nobody really cares.
I know.
And forever, this is the part that really bugs me the most, is that forever these seasons are going to be asterisked. Because they are abbreviated seasons. They didn't play a full season. They didn't have preseason. They had, they had coronavirus, they had this, that, so they're always going to bring into question, well, how legitimate of a championship was that?
Right.
Even if the Lightning win it tonight, which I think they will, there's always going to be like that. Well, that was that 2020 season where they didn't play a full season and there was coronavirus and there was no fans and, and so it's almost like it's more like a participation trophy.
So it makes sense that Tampa, all the sports of Tampa, would be winning
we're doing
this
well.
cycle because it will not be counted.
Oh, we're going to the Super Bowl this year.
That's the thing. If that logic keeps in play, we're going to win everything. And everyone's going to be like, well, you won, but that's because none of the real teams were playing in that cycle. That's why you were able to get out.
Growing up in Atlanta, I was watching, UGA was about to get upset by Arkansas, which was crazy. That would have never happened. They ended up winning and pulling out winning. And then Mississippi State beat LSU, the defending national champions.
That's crazy.
And actually, who I feel for in this whole thing, man, to be honest with you, is these seniors, the kids that are playing college football or pick your college sport. But this is their year. This was supposed to be their year. You're trying to go to the pros. You're trying to have the best year ever. Maybe you can't stay another year or whatever, and it's just ruined for so many of them. And that's why they started suing. And the kids over in the Big Ten, they got sued because of that. And with that, plus Trump's pushing. Remember, Trump was on TV saying play college football.
Well,
when the
and
Big Ten came back.
In a sad way, though, these kids have gambled their entire futures on being professional athletes.
Yep.
And so they don't even care what degrees they've gotten, and most of them have probably never showed up to a single class.
Whoa. I will say this. Spanish
rough.
5
That's rough of you, Johnny.
Spanish 5 classes.
How dare you
are
talk
gonna
about their
be
sociology degree like that? Come on.
Fully in for
doesn't
next
know?
semester. Basket weaving, Spanish number 5. Like these classes, someone needs to go to them.
Yeah.
And these are usually the cream of the crop when it comes to the athletes.
Well, it's a good thing you can pay your fellow students to go do that for you. You know,
Oh, allegations. Allegedly. I will say this. I am disappointed with all the Florida teams. I'm not going to lie when it comes to college.
Are you trying to say that a sociology degree from Appalachian State University is not the focus of...
No, if you're going
Why they're there.
if you're going to Appalachian State, you're probably not too worried about getting into the NFL.
I got my finance degree from Willacoochee, Georgia University.
Remember Brady was like pick number what, like 200 and something? Remember that?
Yeah.
I will tell you this, though. Again, just to add on to how weird of a year this is, aren't the Miami Hurricanes like undefeated? Or
Well, they've only played 2 games.
right, you know, but I mean
They beat Florida State. So
they destroyed Florida
So what?
State.
All right.
Can we not have
Hey,
this discussion right now? I don't want to have
get
If I
in
can
where you
zoom
fit
in
in.
on-
discussion.
Get in where you fit
right
in.
If I
now.
could zoom in on Anibal right now, I totally
don't know
would.
why
Oh, you're an
people-
FSU fan? I don't have anything against FSU. It's just it is what they're at. They are what they are.
Can
right
we
now.
not have this
They'll come back.
conversation? All I'll say
They'll
is,
come back.
yeah, they'll come back and
Be glad that you weren't playing the UCF national champions.
And University of Florida Stadium will continue to burn.
I don't even know how they are doing. How is UCF doing?
Who knows? Are they? They're not on TV. Are they on TV?
I don't know.
I mean, that's all you heard about last year or the year before was UCF.
but this is the thing. It's like
Did we close that college?
it's like I watch the NBA. You know, I've seen little
Budget
bits.
cuts.
I've seen little bits and pieces of.
Well, they're
of the
quarantined
NBA.
in Orlando, right?
And yeah,
They're
and
in
it's
Disney.
like,
Yeah.
and the
They're
minute
Disney.
you see like the things on the back of the jerseys, the words or the
Oh,
slogans,
right, right,
it's like,
yeah.
ugh, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
because again, like sports is supposed to be a departure from reality.
Yes.
It is entertainment.
Yes.
And they have ruined said entertainment. And it's not a statement. It's not that I don't agree or I disagree with whatever the message they're trying to put out. It's
That's
that I
not the
don't
point.
want to hear it.
That's not the point.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like I don't want to
Exactly.
hear it. You know,
Exactly.
it's not the time of the place. It's like when I go to a concert and they're trying to get me to register to vote. Guess what? Right now is not when I care about registering to vote. I'm here to see, Fish perform for the next 6 hours.
Whoa.
Not that
First
I'm
of all,
just-
are you telling me
never been to a Fish
Queen Bee does not motivate you to vote for the Democratic Party? I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense to me. Are you saying these celebrities
Johnny, did you go to the Bad
don't
Bunny concert when
influence?
he was here? You were at the Bad Bunny concert trying to get voters.
Okay, we've
registered?
talked about
I've been at
everyone.
the Bad Bunny, but that's not a concert.
We've talked about everyone else's team. I will say my wife's second team, Notre Dame, destroyed USF last week. So I am I love it. I love when that happens. I'm sorry, Mrs. and Mr. Jennings.
Well, and how do you
I know
go
guys
from
love it.
How do you go from Notre Dame to Eastern Carolina University? I mean, it's just the disparity in some of these schedules is just ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, but that's the schedule you could build.
Well, the major look at the
you
major.
couldn't-
Well, wait a minute, but look at the major conferences. The SEC, all they're doing is playing themselves. I mean,
Right.
that's rough.
Yeah.
They have rough schedules.
Yeah.
So whoever comes out as whoever
comes out of that
whoever
one.
is the SEC champion is like the
Legit,
national
yeah.
champion. Like no matter what happens in the game.
No, look, and I hope that, all these leagues will just kind of hit the reset button and say, okay, we're going to
Yeah.
get back to sports, because honestly, the worst thing that could have happened, on top of this coronavirus has been all of this other this other racial division, and then seeing all these companies and certainly our sporting teams, and how they've had to react to it and adjust to it. I mean, it's just really, I think all of that is what's turned people off, and that's why the numbers are as abysmal as they are.
Not to, I don't know. I'm not saying this is a true, fair comparison, but I love college football and, I served in the Army, but I think about, I love football because it's such a team sport, right? and you rely on the person to your left and right to do their job. And if you don't, you're going to get popped and it's going to hurt.
Right.
And it reminds me a little bit of kind of the camaraderie that you have in the military where you don't care.
And it's a strategy game.
Yeah, it's a strategy game and everything. And you don't care, in the military and in football, you don't care where that person came from. You do not care what that person's race or religion or what. Like, you care about nothing other than what is your job and are you going to do your job?
Right.
And that's it. That's all you care about. And then you build the bond, and you sweat and you bleed a little, and you go through all that stuff as a football team, and you build this bond. And then, like I said, the seniors, those guys have been there. This is it for them. Some of them are going to have a chance at the pros. Many are not.
Many.
So that's the last game of football they're ever going to play.
0.7%.
It's the last game of football they're ever going to play. They've wanted to do that since they were little boys and Mighty Mites and stuff. And so I think about that, and I'm like, how can there be racial issues on that football team? I don't want to sound naive. I mean, perhaps there are some somewhere. But I just think,
and you got to imagine that not all the players are on board with all this,
they can't be
all this virtue signaling and whatever other labels.
When somebody on a team like that, when somebody in an infantry squad or whether it's that or it's a football team, if you're getting on to your buddy, I mean, you're probably getting on to them because they slacked off and didn't pull their weight. It's not something about where they're from, who they are, and stuff like that. I don't get it. So like you said, John, it's the last place that I want to hear about political issues, even if it's an important issue like equality.
Do you think it's going to take a few seasons for them to get back to the numbers that they were before all this hoopla?
I can tell you from my standpoint, my team is the University of Tennessee Volunteers.
College is different.
And I think that next year, 102,455 people will be in the stands at just about every single game.
Yeah, no,
if
look.
you let them.
Well, and real quick, Hector's asking what's my opinion on Dan Le Batard. I like Dan as a guy. I mean, I enjoy him as a sportscaster. I don't know if there's something specific that you're kind of alluding to on that. I mean, but I like him as a sportscaster. I know he's as of late kind of been a little bit more politically opined, but again,
I think the young players, though, think about it. A lot of these players, they're still young college students,
right?
And you've got these protests going on college campuses. You've got political and student organizations. Some of those players are getting roped up into that. And so what do you do as a coach, right? Are you going to ostracize all your players and say, listen, I don't want to hear about it? I mean, these are young men, and they tend to be more emotional, right? And so if it's important to them, then it's got to be important to the coach somehow. And so I think that's why you see these coaches marching and coming out, because they need the loyalty of their guys.
And there's no in the middle. It's like during the McCarthyism. Like, you either are with us or you're against us. And that is never a healthy place to go in regards to building camaraderie and building a society.
Yeah.
You can't have it that way. And a lot of these protesters believe that it's either you're with us or you're against us.
Yeah.
And they don't believe in some form of
right.
let's figure out how we can move forward.
Well, these teams could have handled it in an entirely different way without basically shoving it down your throat. I mean, because they could have encouraged and worked with these athletes that were passionate about the subject and saying, okay, how can we support you? Do you need money? Do you need resources? Do you want us to put on events? Do you want to, and have none of it interfere with the sport itself, but at the same time accomplish the goal that they're trying to accomplish, which is bring awareness to these issues, provide opportunities in the communities that they're trying to lift up, right? And try to have the dialogue with government officials that they're trying to, again, see the change in. But none of this is accomplishing any of that.
That's my issue with the pro ball teams, is that everybody talks about players having constitutional rights. No, you are an employee of your employer, who is the Dallas Cowboys or whoever it is, okay? Your job is to do what the duties of your job say at that company. And every one of those football teams had the ability to say, listen, we are doing our job, which is we're going to play football, and we're going to win games and make money doing it, okay? And we are happy to support different causes and work through our players, but you're here to play football, and that's it. How can we support you otherwise? But we're not bringing it, because anytime you bring politics or religion or any of these other issues into your business, which is what football is, a business, you alienate automatically a portion of your customer base, and it's bad business. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, and in the same way that in the same way that they again alienated half the fan base, at the end of the day, honestly, I think in a year or two from now, like, people aren't going to care or remember, or, it's like because both sides are guilty of it. They get all worked up in arms about, I'm going to protest these people,
Right.
whether it be Starbucks or Chick-fil-A or the NFL or the NBA. And then a year from now, you see them and they're in line for their tickets and they're in line for their latte.
Want their pumpkin spice.
Yeah, exactly.
Pumpkin
So
spice
I think
latte.
if a team would have come out the way that you just said, Joe, and would have pushed back and said, hey, look, we're in the football business. We're not in the politics business. We'll help our players through whatever means they deem fit. And I think even if they would have gotten some blowback at the end of the day, nobody would have cared, and the world would have kept rotating in the way that it's rotating.
And that's where you see when things go too far, when protesters start harassing individuals, when they start going into cafes and yelling at the barista, when they start interrupting people when they're having dinner, when they stop roads.
Well, the
from
corporate
people,
world,
that's when people start getting upset.
Yeah,
when normal people get upset because you are now disrupting their lives because you don't feel that they are respecting your position.
The corporate world brought some of this onto themselves, because you look at any company's webpage and they're just tripping over themselves to talk about how they're so woke and environment and
they're
social
not.
and
And
social
they're not.
stuff. No, they don't care. Yeah. They're doing what they need to do to make money, and they're basically giving hush money to various groups that are like, hey, that are extorting money from these companies. They don't care about that. They care about what they should care about, which is their core business.
Well, because that like you said, the extortion is very real.
Oh, yeah.
And if they're not getting a check, they're going to be like, oh, okay, well, we'll be protesting you on Sunday then. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Jesse Jackson got called out for that a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
With his Rainbow Push Coalition going around basically getting checks.
Oh, Jesse Jackson is the biggest racist
and they were getting paid
in U.S.
to go
history.
away.
In U.S., he's the
biggest
racist and has done absolutely nothing for race relations in the United States.
And just like lawsuits, corporations do the math. They say, what's the cost associated with being protested or whatever, And okay, what do they want? $50,000 donation. Okay, here you go away.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, well, then so you don't really believe. You're not a believer. You're not being honest. But guess what? The organization that's doing that is perfectly okay, because they don't need you to be a believer either.
That's why all of
they
this.
just want you
that's
to submit.
Why all
and
of
cut
this
a check.
is in Spanish is called mierda. It really is. It's all bull. Yeah. When it comes to this wokeness that the corporate America is having, the only reason why they're doing it is because they think they can get some additional funds out of you because of it. And and that's why when it comes, and don't get me wrong, we have companies like this on the right as well.
Sure.
Well, I was just going to say, remember Hobby Lobby, right?
Yeah.
Everybody, Hobby Lobby's done. They're going to be out of business soon because they're getting protested and nobody wants to deal with all of their, religious values and all of their Republican stance on Obamacare and all that kind of stuff. Guess what? I haven't seen a single Hobby Lobby go out of business.
I'll say this right now. I haven't seen a Chick-fil-A either go out of business.
Focus on your core business. If you sell Chick-fil-A sandwiches, sell chicken sandwiches.
Right.
If you sell arts and crafts, sell arts and crafts. And isn't that the way you keep the I'm trying to think of what you call it. It's like the protection. It's like the mob when they want protection money. That's the way you keep these guys at bay. You don't ever give in to it. You just say, "Hey, listen, I'm not against you. I'm not with you, but that's not my business. I'm not a political activist. We sell coffee.
We don't negotiate with terrorists. That's where it is at the end of the day. And a lot of these woke organizations and these fascists, honestly, they're fascists, have become. You do not negotiate with terrorists. Exactly. I don't care what anyone says. I will talk to activists. I'll talk to protesters. I know a lot of them. They're good people that want to see change.
Because think about
we might not agree on how to get to that outcome, but we all agree with the outcome.
I mean,
so we need to move. We need to find a way to move in that direction.
Even nonprofit organizations, like say a Christian organization that solicits funds and then uses that money to support certain things, they can't help everybody. They can't support every initiative that's out there. They have to pick and choose their lane. This is what we do. This is what we support, and that's what we're sticking to. And you have to be able to say no.
I'll tell you the big reason, and we got to kind of wrap it up because we're already about 15 after, but almost 20 after. But the biggest reason why I think these pro sports leagues and the teams caved to the athletes is because they already know, and they carry the guilt of a narrative that that has been trying to be built for a long time, which is that, you have people out there that will say that they consider modern sports modern day slavery. That they are working for a white man with a lot of money and blah, blah, blah. And that's why you've seen some sports teams reach out to minorities and bring them in as minority stakeholders and try to diversify the ownership.
Okay, so your point is that these are predominantly white-owned companies who've been making a lot of money off of players. And even though players make a lot of money, the owners make a heck of a lot more.
Sure.
And you're saying that they kind of, in the back of their mind, do feel like, okay, new players come in every single year. Some of these guys get injured for life, and then they're off the roster, and I just made money off of them, and they end up with a crappy NFL pension. And you're saying that this is kind of like
it's a way to keep them at bay.
They're kind of paying up because they feel guilty about their business. I mean,
I refuse.
Yeah,
it's a way to get to that position.
It's a way for them to prevent the curtain from being pulled back. And for that topic being brought up, because I know that there are players that feel that way. There are players that feel like they are owned because they are traded and they are purchased and they are, and that then they're discarded when they're not of any use.
Right.
And I think that guilt that they carry as being a team owner, which now they're also trying to change the nomenclature and now they want to call them team managers or team general managers or whatever. And
we can't even call a living room a bedroom a master suite anymore. Like the verbiage that we're trying to they're trying to make it so where people feel comfortable. Again, once
that's how we are a rich country. I mean, people literally have no other major issues in their life that they have to focus on.
And we have major issues. We have coronavirus. We still have the economic depression or a recession that might be coming our way. There's a lot of issues. And what does the Congress decide to do? Leave for vacation.
Make sports great
But
again.
still, if you look at what they did to the guy who owned the Clippers.
Okay?
Oh,
right.
And I forget his name. But if you look at what they did to him, I think that is what they're scared of. They're scared of if they don't fall in line, yes, the team is going to turn on them, and then they're going to be portrayed as a racist. And then if they're labeled as a racist, then the NBA can come in and say, well, because we think that you may be a racist, we're going to go ahead and take your ownership. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
So you think the actual, like Roger Goodell and all these guys, like actually the NFL owners are fearful of the organization itself? NFL.
Oh, absolutely.
They're afraid of the NFL.
Yeah, they're afraid.
Because even though you're an owner, you're one of multiple owners, and the NFL can get other owners.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just like they did with the Clippers.
Yeah, they made
and if need be, as they did with the Clippers, the league will own it for a time until they find a new owner. But they had no problem finding somebody to step up and purchase the team, especially since they didn't care if they made a profit on the sale of the team or not.
Right.
All they were looking was for new ownership. And I think if these owners realized if they didn't fall in line, they were going to lose their ownership stake.
Even when you're a billionaire, you're still not out of the water, right? You're still subjected to all this craziness.
I mean,
you can still get fired.
I'm not going to give Steve Ballmer the kudos of what he did.
I was going to say, wasn't that guy kind of creepy?
I mean, he is officially banned for life for attending an NBA game. So.
No! I'm talking about the owner of the Clippers. That guy. Wasn't he doing some bad stuff?
Well, again, he was. Look, his removal from the NBA, Donald Sterling. So his removal from the NBA was very legitimate. They were. Regardless of how they came about these recordings, they were voicemails and private conversations that were recorded, and he was incredibly racist. Right, that's well documented, despite dating a minority, who was the one that eventually led to his demise. But he was an incredibly racist individual. That being said, I think because that is also so recent. That was within the last 5 or 6 years, I think. I think they worried about the players turning on them and then going to the league and say, I'm not going to work for this guy because he doesn't kowtow to my political beliefs. Right. And so therefore you're now labeled a racist and you're forced to sell your team.
He is a racist, and he should not have been.
Sterling, absolutely.
And so, I agree with you. The outcome of that can be very fishy how this is going to go down the pike. But at the end of the day, this happens a lot. This is why we have unions. This is why we have all this other stuff to allow for there to be some kind of balance when it comes to the power and influence.
But you're right, Joe. Even as a billionaire, you are kowtowing to either the players or to the NBA. And basically, if they decide that they don't want you to have an ownership stake in the league,
my buddy in Atlanta said, he happens to be black. He said, "Who got Jerry Jones to take a knee?"
Yeah.
He said, "That's what who's got enough money to get Jerry Jones to take a knee?"
It's not money. I bet you that man was blackmailed to take a knee.
All right,
with
guys.
that, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen,
make football great again.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, thank you again to everybody for watching.
College.
We appreciate you for watching The Yard Sign, the most important and relevant podcast in politics. Again, feel free to like, share, comment on our show. Again, the show's doing great. We're going to have a lot more in store for you. Feel free to reach out to us via Messenger for topic ideas, people that you'd like to see on the show. But the support has been fantastic. And actually, look on YouTube over the next coming weeks. We're going to have all those interviews from the Florida Federation of Republican Women. We're going to have those up on the YouTube channel. They're currently on Facebook, though, if you can't wait for them. In the meantime, on behalf of Joe Wicker and Anibal Cabrera, I am Jonny Torres, your host. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back here tomorrow night.
Yeah.
You guys on board?
That'll be fun.
All right, we're going to do a companion broadcast.
I need to ask the wife and see if she gives me the okay.
Depending on the business.
All right.
Depending on the wife.
So let's see. Well, it's going to start late, isn't it? Like 7:30 or 8 or something like that?
Is it?
I have no idea.
All right, well, keep an eye on the Facebook page for details.
We're going to have a full. When do you think he'll start dozing?
Trump is going to say something like, "We need to hurry this debate up because it's past Joe's bedtime." He's going to say something.
Yeah, he will.
He's going to say something like that, and it's going to be hilarious.
Yeah. All right. Good night, everybody. Say bye-bye.
Bye, guys.